Welcome to episode 9 of Kevin Across America. I'm Kevin, this is my Grandma Flo.
Hi, this is my birthday and we're celebrating it in Spring Green, Wisconsin.
Say hello.
Good morning, we're getting ready to go.
My Grandma Flo is a proud South Side Chicago native. At 85 years old, she still lives independently in the burbs. Grandma Flo is cultured. She knows art, fashion, travel, and architecture. Her favorite architect is Frank Lloyd Wright. He created Prairie Style, known for open floor plans and low-pitched roofs with large, overhanging eaves. It should come as no surprise that Grandma Flo's home has many prairie-style features. I recently discovered my grandma had a collection of newspaper clippings, some nearly 30 years old, about Frank Lloyd Wright's home and studio in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And so I booked a flight from D.C. back home to Chicago in order to take my grandma on a bucket list item road trip.
So how long has it been since you've wanted to see Taliesin?
Years and years and years.
Like 3 decades.
Oh, at least. Nobody takes me.
Except me.
Except my lovely grandson.
The drive from Hickory Hills, Illinois to the village of Spring Green, Wisconsin was around 3 hours. Spring Green is 45 minutes west of Madison, the state capital. It has a tiny population of 1,600, but draws more than 100,000 tourists every year. That's predominantly thanks to 3 main attractions: Taliesin, the House on the Rock, and American Players Theater. Frank Lloyd Wright's architectural fingerprints can be found all around town, at the Catholic Church, BMO Harris Bank, and this office building, among other structures. We arrived at the Frank Lloyd Wright Visitor Center ahead of our 2-hour tour of Wright's hillside studio and his Taliesin home. Wright actually designed the building. It was a restaurant for around 25 years before becoming the visitor center.
I always like to say this is a piece of history. This is a piece of Frank Lloyd Wright's life.
Brock Stafford is Taliesin's tour operations manager. He explained Wright was born in 1867 and grew up in Madison, but would often work his uncle's farm in Spring Green during the summer. That's in part how Wright came to appreciate nature. Wright cut his architectural teeth in Chicago, but in his early 40s returned to Spring Green to build Taliesin.
As we say, all these other sites, Frank Lloyd Wright is building for a client, but here at Taliesin, he's the client. He's the person who he's designing for.
We boarded a bus that took us to the 800-acre Taliesin compound. Taliesin doesn't allow guests to record video on its tours, but does let you take pictures. We started at the Hillside Building, which dates back to 1901.
The Hillside Building was designed for his aunts, and his aunts were educators, very progressive educators for their time. And so he creates it right at the same time that his career is really taking off in Chicago with the Prairie Style movement. So you see a lot of influences there. You also see how he uses light in that space, and what can be very heavy spaces, he makes feel very open and very welcoming as well.
The Aunts School ultimately went out of business. Wright transformed the building into the Taliesin Fellowship and added this large drafting room for his apprentices. The fellowship was essentially Wright's private architectural school. Wright designed some of his most notable work in this space, including the Guggenheim Art Museum in New York City.
Frank Lloyd Wright, first and foremost, he's trying to create a uniquely American-style architecture. He is not taking cues from what everybody else is doing. As they say, if folks go right, he'll go left.
Wright was notoriously bad with money and chronically in need of it. For example, he designed this windmill for Taliesin in 1896 at a cost of $1,500. That was 6 times the going rate for a windmill at the time.
Taliesin is really what we like to call Frank Lloyd Wright's living laboratory, a place where Frank Lloyd Wright is able to do a lot of experimentation.
Wright moved into the actual Taliesin house in 1911. At 37,000 square feet, it's massive. Wright believed in organic architecture, what we now call sustainability. He used large glass windows, sometimes without corner frames, to break down barriers between the interior and exterior. The flooring in the living room is meant to mimic the sandy bottom of the lower Wisconsin River. Taliesin is built into a hill and has colorful outdoor gardens. Wright spoke about Taliesin during this 1953 televised interview.
So I chose Taliesin for a name. It means shining brow. And Taliesin is built like a brow on the edge of the hill, not on top of the hill, because I believe you should never build on top of anything directly. If you build on top of the hill, you lose the hill.
My grandma and I had lunch in the Taliesin Visitor Center Cafe.
Hey, we're going to take a look at it here and just make sure.
Afterward, she hit the gift shop, a skill she's mastered over the years. Taliesin is open from May 1st through October 31st, and on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in November. Our 2-hour highlights tour was $67 for adults and $62 for seniors, plus tax.
The sheer scale and size of his influence, not only here in America, but across the world, is really something that is impressive and something that still sticks with us because people can run into Frank Lloyd Wright just about wherever you are in the United States.
In 1956, just 3 years before his death, Frank Lloyd Wright designed this building. He donated the design and 2 acres of land to the Wyoming-Wisconsin School District in honor of his mother, Anna, who had been a kindergarten teacher. The concrete block structure around 3 miles south of Spring Green opened in 1958. It had 46 students in the 1st through 8th grades. After closing in 1990, the school changed hands several times, but mostly stayed empty. Then in 2010, a local landowner gave the school to a nonprofit that rebranded the building the Wyoming Valley School Cultural Arts Center. It's now on the National Register of Historic Places and offers tours throughout the summer for $5 or $6 a person. Wright's maternal grandparents left Wales in the 1840s, seeking religious freedom and prosperity in the U.S. They were Unitarians and settled in Wisconsin's Wyoming Valley to farm the rich land. During the 1880s, the family called on a Chicago architect to design this church, known as the Unity Chapel. Records show Wright, then 18, assisted with the chapel's interior, making this his earliest known work. The Unity Chapel is a short 2-minute drive from Taliesin. Many of Wright's family members, including his mother and maternal grandparents, are buried in the chapel graveyard. Wright was originally buried here too. Yet following the 1985 death of his 3rd wife, Olga Ivana, Wright's remains were exhumed, cremated, and sent to his winter estate, Taliesin West, in Scottsdale, Arizona. That decision upset many who argued Spring Green was Wright's true home. For dinner Saturday, we went to Homecoming. It's located in the historic White School Building in downtown Spring Green. The owners, Kyle Beach and Leah Spicer, wanted to bring the tiny town high-quality food using local ingredients at a reasonable price. Homecoming has 4.8 stars on Google, and for good reason. The menu, which is updated often, had tons of unique options. I ordered the wood-fired Rushing Waters trout with roasted carrots, red cayenne beans, and succotash. Grandma Flo wasn't too hungry, and so she had a spring salad with turnips, radishes, and pickled beets with honey herb vinaigrette on top. Homecoming's indoor dining area is relaxed, bright, and cheerful. You can also eat in an outdoor garden beside a wood-fired pizza oven that has a lot of character. Homecoming is open for dinner on Fridays, Saturdays, and Mondays. It also does Sunday brunch. We stayed at the Spring Valley Inn, around 3 miles up the road from Taliesin. The reception area and lounge used to be a sales office for a local developer. In the early 1990s, the original and still current Spring Valley Inn owners purchased the building and land. They added on 35 hotel rooms, a fitness center, a conference room, and an indoor pool with a steam room and sauna. A Frank Lloyd Wright apprentice by the name of Charles Montooth helped blend the main building with the new addition. What's more, a former Taliesin architect designed the furniture in the restaurant and each hotel room. The rooms are simple but clean and have lots of nods to Wright. This floor lamp and these framed prints being a few examples.
Good morning. How'd you sleep?
Good.
Following a good night's rest, Grandma Flo and I enjoyed a complimentary hot breakfast with coffee in the lounge. We watched birds fly around in a little garden outside. It's worth noting the inn sells cold beer in the lobby and has hosted the likes of heavy metal band Quiet Riot and Rudy Giuliani. The staff at the Spring Valley Inn were incredibly friendly. Our rooms in July of 2022 each cost around $190 a night. In the 1940s, a man named Alex Jordan started to build a home atop a large rock around 15 minutes southwest of Spring Green. Jordan didn't follow proper plans, but rather creative ideas that were bouncing around his head. Jordan wanted the home, named the House on the Rock, to be his private refuge for reading, listening to music, and sculpting. Yet the eccentric retreat started to attract a lot of attention. In 1960, Jordan opened the house to the public, charging 50 cents per person. Jordan, who never married or had kids, poured most of that ticket money back into his 240-acre property. Just look at the Infinity Room. It's suspended above the ground and has more than 3,000 windows. It's basically a long optical illusion that leads your eyes to believe the room never ends. The House on the Rock is a maze of dimly lit exhibits and quickly becomes sensory overload. It has a large collection of miniature dollhouses, miniature circus displays, and toy trucks. It has a carousel with 269 animals, 20,000 lights, and nearly 200 chandeliers. The Music of Yesterday exhibit is room after room of mechanically operated orchestras. The Heritage of the Sea exhibit showcases 200 model ships, including the Titanic, and contains a menacing sea creature that is as long as the Statue of Liberty is tall. My favorite section was this 19th century red-bricked street. There were a few dozen storefronts, including a sheriff's office, a carriage house, and a barber shop. Check out the attention to detail. The firehouse had a card game on a wooden table with coins scattered about and a Dalmatian lying underneath. In 1988, Alex Jordan sold the House on the Rock to a longtime business associate. Jordan died 1 year later from congestive heart failure. The House on the Rock is divided into 3 sections. Your ticket is based on how many sections you want to see. I paid $33 for the Adult Ultimate Experience Pass. Check the attraction website for a full list of times and prices. If you do all 3 sections and aren't in a big rush, I'd set aside at least 5 hours to explore.
Oh, it's hard work for me,
A lot of walking.
but it sure is different.
Grandma was pretty worn out after traversing the House on the Rock. But if you're less than 85 years old and have a bit more energy, consider canoeing, tubing, or kayaking down the lower Wisconsin River. It runs 92 miles from Prairie du Sac in the north through Spring Green all the way to the Mississippi River confluence. The lower Wisconsin has no rapids, waterfalls, or portages, and the normal currents range between 1 and 5 miles per hour. Some people do half-day trips, while others spend a full week paddling all 92 miles, camping each night on sprawling sandbars.
I've seen people move to tears. I've seen people who just say they've been waiting 50 years to come see it.
Brock Stafford is talking about people like my grandma.
Oh, gosh.
Who was in awe upon laying her eyes on Taliesin, a historic property that, despite being only 3 hours from her home, had managed to linger for decades on her bucket list unchecked. Our weekend getaway, a helpful reminder to focus on what's important and not let time pass you by. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. My next stop, Roanoke, Virginia, nestled within the Blue Ridge Mountains. For now, from Spring Green, Wisconsin, with a guest birthday appearance by Grandma Flo, I'm Kevin, across America.